we can just pass around and give a quick check-in of, I don't know, something you're excited about. I'll pass to Anna Marie.
Well, I'm super excited that summer finally seems to have landed here in France. And yeah, I get to sit outside now in the day and work, which is incredibly lovely. How about you, Santi?
Thank you, Anne-Marie. Well, I'm a little relaxed after I launched 2 big projects related with NFTs, and I just heard from my partners that the Spanish TV wants to interview us. So I'm gonna have to drive down to Madrid for next week and do the recording, which is good because we're gonna have a bunch of exposure. But it's a it's a lot of work. But anyway, we're having fun. I'll pass it to Zeppi.
Thank you. It's just a check-in? Or
Something you're excited about.
oh, SCC. I'm excited to meet you all, guys. Yeah, that'd be awesome. And I'll pass it to Chui.
Hey, Septi, I'm sorry, I just came in. What is the question?
Just something you're excited about.
Something I'm excited about. Probably it's been a popular one, but Paris. Yeah. I'm very, very excited about it. I just had a call with Heather last night. And like I like we talked a lot about like logistics, this like event planner that we're looking for to have like some stuff ready around it. And yeah, it's just something that excites me a lot. Oh wait,
I'm here.
yeah, yeah, you're here, Heather. Yeah, I didn't see you because it was yeah. So yeah, we were talking about logistics, and yeah, we're just like we had a lot of excitement around the ideas that we have. So yeah, I'm excited about Paris. I'll pass it to I'll pass it to you, Livy, because I don't know who already went.
Well, I'm super excited about Paris too, but I'm like excited and very nervous at the same time because I don't know if I can go. I'm trying to find all of the possibilities if I can enter through Portugal or if what is the hack that will take me to Paris. But I'm also excited about that. And I'll pass to Nate. Nate, are you there?
Sorry. Apologies, I'm just getting my headphones in. What was the intro?
Something you're excited about?
I am excited about moving in the next couple days, but also not excited. So yeah, I'm just yeah, it's one of those things. Yeah, I'll pass it to Santi.
Already went.
Dang.
Tam, you can pass it to Tam.
Tam.
I'll take it. I'm really excited about meeting all of you in Paris. But I'm really excited about it being very hot in France and all the amazing pools that France have are open. So we really kicked it up and swam twice this weekend. And I just feel like there's a lot of swimming in my future now in this summer. And I'll pass to Livia to pass on.
I'll pass to Heather.
Hi, everyone. My name is Heather, and I'm in India, so it's nighttime here, which is why it's very dark and you can't see my face. And I'm excited to meet all of you. I'm a part of I'm a new addition to the general magic team to help with hiring. So I thought it'd be really important for me to understand more what goes on in the community and the projects if I'm hiring or like try to find candidates. I'm also a little tired, so my speech may be really like not articulate, but so yeah, just excited to be here and understand more about what goes on in the TEC. And I will pass to Suga?
Heather,
Or
that's
is that
both.
Katie?
Yes, indeed, that's me.
Yeah.
Thanks a lot. I'm
Hi.
excited about three things. So I have to say three things so I don't forget any of them. One of them is that it's hot in France and the swimming town. We're totally doing loads of swimming because we live across the street, the little country road, the rivers across the street. So we go swimming like every day. It's amazing. The second thing is ECC. So I'm super excited to meet everybody and I just can't wait to like see your, it's cool. I pushed back my travels so that I can go to that. I'm really excited about that. And the third thing is my travels to the US will come directly after ECC. So I'll be excited to meet Nate, for example, and maybe Griff and Craig and other folks who are on the West Coast. So we'll see. So those are my three things. Thanks. Back to Livia.
I pass it to Mihai.
Sure. What was the question? Sorry, I just joined.
Just something you're excited about.
I'll pass it on until I think about it, and then I'll come back. If that's okay.
So I'll pass it to Griff.
I needed the question too. Thanks, Mihai. I'm excited about figuring out how we're going to determine what we do with impact hours. That's what I'm most excited about, and also Sourcecred. And I'll pass it to Livia. You can pass it for me.
Mihai was the last one. So
okay. I suppose I'm excited in participating in the first patch ever. As a trusted seed and newcomer into this, it's fascinating to see how this project evolves, and it's just about to see its finish line in a sense. Not the final finish line, but the first sprint, I suppose. And it's really cool to witness this and be part of it. Yeah, thanks. I think that should be it. Back to you, Lydia.
great, thank you. So, hi, Escanor.
Hi guys, I'm back. Yeah.
Awesome. So we're gonna jump in favor of time. And Griff, this is your lucky day. We're gonna be talking about the things you're most excited about. Let me share my screen. So praise analysis. How are we doing? What are the possible categories we have for moving forward? Where are we standing? How this is going to happen? So we are starting to have some structure around this. It's still in this moment that we don't have all the information and that we need to talk about this and have a quick sense making before moving forward. So I listed some of the possibilities we've been talking about. I had a meeting with WGG yesterday, and we kind of outlined some of the things we're thinking. So now seems like we have forming three categories for what proposals we can submit, and they are paid contributors deduction. So this has been a topic that a lot of people have brought up. So should we restitute, should we change the percentage that is discounted from paid contributors? And if we do, how much is that percentage? So Griff had an interesting proposal that is, what if we don't touch on any of the compensation part, but we give back 100% of the governance power to all the contributors that were paid. But this governance would be vested to like forever vested until a proposal or something changes that vesting period. So people would have that governance power because they would have the tokens, but they wouldn't be able to trade the tokens or to liquidate the tokens. So the compensation value wouldn't be there. And then the other proposal would be to give it back an X percentage that we have to discuss. What does it feel good of both governance power and compensation? So to give tokens that would be liquid within a certain amount of time that will be decided by the params. Is there any questions about this section? Griff, would you want to complement something of your first proposal?
Other than, I mean, no, I think you nailed it. The big thing here is they would get real tokens, but they would never be able to sell them, but they would be able to use them for voting. And then, debating if it's worth 100% or 60% or whatever. And I don't think it has to be excluding other options either, right? It's just like, it's kind of like, okay, here's our configuration space. Here's what we can do. Here are some solutions, right? We can mint tokens for people that cannot be sold and only have governance rights. We could replace the impact hours that was taken away up to 100%. But we could do 150%. We could do 50%, right? I mean, hey, we can do anything. It's programmable money. So cool, right? And then we can also, like you said, we could also just mint TC tokens that are liquid as well at some percentage to replace what is probably over-extract or over-correcting on the 85% deduction for impact hours.
Anybody has any questions?
I have a quick question. Yeah. Is are paid contributors the core team members, or is this something that's like a possibility, or are there other people outside of the team that get sort of paid in some way now?
I coordinate a lot of the funding for this stuff, right? And we give deductions, like Mateo works for Giveth, and he actually gets a 50% deduction, even though maybe he shouldn't, right? But I feel weird because like I help make that happen too, and I feel like he's got free reign, of course, to help in the TC. Livia and me and Tam, we all get paid from the Common Stack. We're part of the Common Stack core team, and then also like Chewy and Nate and Katie also get paid by the Common Stack, but more like as contributors. And so like we kind of just made an individual deal so that people who, it's been brought up that like, not everyone is privileged enough to be able to just take off their time and just come and work on things, like people got to put food on the table and stuff. So we're willing to like subsidize people's pay so that they can come here and work and contribute and learn and be part of this amazing thing without having to be so privileged. But because there's also people who are working without being paid, we also have to be fair to them. And so we kind of just pulled out some numbers and said, oh yeah, 85% people who are paid full time, they only get 15% of their impact hours, and volunteers get 100, right? And then, okay. But we didn't know what that meant at first, and now we have the data, so now we can like start to see, well, what was right, or what would make it even better.
Yeah, there's a list here of who are the people that get paid. Mostly by the common stack, by the common stack and the projects that are like siblings of the common stack. So Giveth and General Magic. And I think that's probably it. So
Common Storm.
and Common Swarm that is paid by one hive. So there are some contributors that, yeah, have different streams of funding that are directly connected to their work in the TEC. But then to that point, maybe Giveth, I don't know if it's so directly connected, and then there is a different percentage of 50% instead of 15%. But those are all like numbers that we are starting to look at now, and people have raised different thoughts about how this works and if this is fair for who or not. Or so that's why these proposals are. That's why this is a part of these proposals from the data analysis. So we'll have from YGG and Octopus, we'll have the comparisons. So how does this list and the distribution looks like if we deduce this percentage, if we change, if we give just governance power, if we give, so we'll have those to compare.
And from my understanding, it was mostly the biggest concern was the voting power within the TEC. That was a big concern, the distribution of voting power. Is that correct? And not so much the compensation aspect.
I think different people were concerned about different things. I heard both the aspects being raised. So I think it's important to give that opportunity.
Yeah, and the document that that Livia is sharing is actually something that she invited me to present to Softgov because I did a round of advice process with Common Stock already. And maybe I don't think it's really ready to propose, but really maybe we can do an advice process instead of proposing it to Softgov, if that makes sense, Livia. And the idea was, I spent a lot of time thinking about why we have this reduction and the original reasons and whether they still are relevant today and how it makes sense and what the outcomes were, the positive and negative outcomes, because there were both. And maybe I'll share the screen so I can run through the document too. So this is not related to the impact hour distribution. Just to be clear, it's tangential, but it's not. The proposal that I want to make is that we get rid of the impact hour tax, just going forward. But it's not going to be. This isn't a proposal that's going to suggest anything that we do with the existing impact hours. But the idea is, I started thinking about what the original considerations were, what the original thinking was. And the original thinking is really sound, actually. When you're bootstrapping a DAO and people are compensated to bootstrap the DAO, those are the people that are the most visible, that will be seen, that are in the earliest. So there's almost no way to avert them being the whales of the DAO. And the idea being that if the team that's bootstrapping the DAO could then have reduced impact hour earnings, then they could have a more fair distribution across everyone in the community. So I think it made a lot of sense. Two considerations I came across while I was looking at this was, one is that, of course, impact hours provides governance, not just monetary compensation. So that's one of those like, oh, if we couldn't have known that it would turn out like this. And then it's only Common Stack that the TEC imposes this tax on. We're not imposing this tax on any other organizations, not One Hive, not Block Science, not Prime DAO, not Curve Labs. So it's actually worth us considering, why are we applying this impact hour reduction only to Common Stack? And do we want to keep doing that? I'm going to propose we don't want to keep doing that. And then the idea of there being this no compensation, people who weren't receiving compensation took added risk because they didn't know if the DAO would exist. And for sure, that's very true. At the end of last year, there was should happen, but there was no sure thing. And then we sort of timed nicely with the bull run, and it seems like, okay, funding suddenly got liftoff. So we were able to continue funding, and it looks very likely that we're gonna hatch in a few weeks, 2 weeks. And then the unintended negative consequences, I think, are a fewfold. One is that the visibility of the initial bootstrapping team, it might have been for many weeks just Livia and Griff, who are doing everything for everyone. And now we have, 12 to 14 stewards and many different working groups and a much bigger community, 400 active contributors. So it's not really necessary that these are the people, the Common Stack team are the people who are getting the most visibility. Maybe arguable, actually, because a lot of our stewards are still compensated by Common Stack. So that's not actually, that's an argument. I feel like it's not a strong enough argument, but still, in thinking about future commons, there's got to be some other way to sort of diminish that, to diminish the reduction. So to give the people that are originally bootstrapping it to also sort of allow their impact hours to increase, or to tax them less over time. I don't know what the right time is. There's some mathematical formula that's going to make sense. Just some rough numbers is like maybe start with 75%, and after the first quarter of the year, or the first half of the year, drop to 50, and after another 4 months or 6 months, drop to 0, or whatever that timing would be. And then the reach falls very wide. There's people who are being compensated by Common Stack who are barely involved in the TEC, but they also have this tax. Dan is a great example. He's the gardener of the trusted seed. He comes into the community and participates, but he's not able to receive his full impact hours because he's being compensated for Common Stack for something entirely different than the TEC. Ataz, maybe another person, Chris. So there's a number of people who I feel like we trap accidentally. And then I think we don't really fully take into account everyone's unique circumstances. There are people who we want to be involved in TEC, who we want to compensate, and they might not have an option of whether or not to receive compensation. So I think this is analogous to the unpaid internship, and the advantages you have if you're in a position in your life where you can accept an unpaid internship. Your career advancements are huge. The possibilities for your future open up, versus if you're not in a position in your life where you can accept an unpaid internship. And those are, I think we just maybe want to reflect or think about how we can make sure that people are being compensated because they've gone through a process to accept a role, and it's a role that's necessary and needed, but it doesn't mean that maybe we're not penalizing them for needing to have compensation at that point in their life. And really, this, I think, also comes down to what you just said, Nate. Really, it's really like governance. It's like the monetary compensation. I don't think anyone here in this room or anyone in the TEC is in this for money. Like, we're all in this because we're very passionate and we care about this. So somebody that is receiving compensation but has their governance so greatly reduced seems to be unfair. So I am proposing that we're actually just saying, okay, the TEC is no longer going to impose this reduction on Common Stack or the people who've been identified in Giveth or General Magic, because we're not imposing this tax on any other organization, and we don't know why we would continue to do it with Common Stack. And that's my proposal. So I'd love to hear feedback and help make this, have diverse opinions on this as well.
Thank you, Tam.
Thank you, Tam. Can I just say my opinion? I have been especially out of these conversations because I didn't want to intervene, of course, or give my opinion until most of the people was telling, their feedback, giving their feedback, and maybe we had some analysis. We had some analysis on the impact hours, but and this is my personal view. I jumped in TC because I wanted to get involved into something related to token engineering. I found token engineering, and through token engineering, I got involved into token engineering commons. You get involved for different reasons. Everyone gets involved for different reasons. But this is a lottery of compensation. You think that maybe some compensation, but it's just a lottery. You don't know. You don't know if there's going to be a hatch, if we're going to get funded or not. But at the end of the day, it's impossible not to compare yourself with the rest of the team. And the same way that I understand governance tokens should be given to those that have not received impact hours because they were getting paid, no matter if it was 50%, 70%, or 100% or whatever. I understand that they've been involved and they should be able to get involved. I understand that people who's not been getting paid at all or very little for all the implication and all the hours that they've been taken away should be considered differently. And that doesn't mean that we should keep doing it the same way. I understand this is not perfect. There's many more people involved. There's many different cases, and we should learn from the past and try to make some new rules to adjust to what we are right now, which is not what we were a few months ago when I joined, and not what we were a few months after I joined, because we've been growing quite fast lately. But from the perspective of someone that's been putting time, just because I wanted to put time. No one was asking me to do so, but I put it a lot of time, and other people put it a lot of time, and they didn't get compensated at all. And after that, seeing that people that has been compensated, maybe getting some of the impact hours of those that have not been compensated, it's not really nice. And this is a personal perspective. And that may put someone back. And I've been listening to other people, and I've been hearing different opinions. Everyone has their own opinion. But for someone that's been putting a lot of time and not being compensated just because they didn't ask, or because there wasn't any reason to get compensated, which is fair. I understand that not everyone has the same life situation, and not everyone has the same skills, and maybe useful for the DAO, but not enough to get compensated, or for any other reason. That's not the story. But I mean, you do work, you do a lot of work, you put a lot of time, and I'm not going to say your hours are more valued than others. To me, anyone that's putting time, it's valuable. And then other people is getting compensated for any other reason. And at the end of the day, you have to end up giving back part of your compensation, which was given because you were not getting anything paid. To those that were getting paid, I mean, if you talk to someone logically, that doesn't have any sense at all. And at the end of the day, we're going to end up doing whatever everyone votes, because we are a DAO, and that's how things get done on a DAO. But the same way that this is the first time I hear about governance, and I'm absolutely on that. I think that one thing is compensation, another thing is governance. And if we can do that, I should say, from my perspective, everyone should get all the impact hours before reduction into governance. Because I don't care if I get compensated or not. I've been involved, and I have the right to get governance tokens. And that's my opinion. And that's up till now. I mean, I think we should change things from now on, now that we have all the analysis, that we've seen what's been happening. And I said this before we started analyzing. We can do as many data analysis as we want. This is a skewed method from the very beginning. And this is skewed because we wanted it to be skewed, because we wanted to be fair. And Grief was making the rules mostly initially just trying to compensate every single one case, which was not easy. And that's what we all played. And after playing these rules, now we may change the game. Okay, the community may decide to change the game, that's fine. But if I play a soccer game and the goals count once, and at the end of the game they tell, no, the goals count twice instead of one, okay, you should have told me this at the beginning. Now at the end of the game, you change the rules. This is not very, very nice. You can change the rules from now on. We've been playing now, we can change the rules, we've learned a lot. We from learning, we evolve. But don't change the rules backwards, change the rules forwards. That's my personal sense. I just wanted to say that. Thank you, Lily.
Thanks, Santi. Yeah, thank you both, Tam, Santi, for your points. And just a clarification, so the proposals that we are exploring for touching into past data are probably these two. And then the proposal TEM is sharing is for the future. So you wouldn't touch into any past data. And I think it's good might be a good practice, Tim, to post in the advice process in the forum, and then people can add their comments there. And this can be a separate discussion for this scope of moving forward. And people can propose other views as well. And that would be, I think, the ideal scenario if people that have different opinions also try shaping different proposals or comments, and we can move on in regards to that. And then for the data that is being analyzed and looked at and the proposals that will come from the analysis, for them to be separate and for us to form debates. So something I think it would be good is understanding, like, okay, if we have a very rough consensus that these two are interesting, like, spectrums to look at, and that they represent most of the opinions that we have heard, what are the implications of choosing one and another? And I think that would be something great to start talking in the debates. And for these ones, we can kind of start talking about them now. It's not that we need so much more analysis from the data to start investigating this. So for example, restituting a percentage of governance power through infinite vesting. What would that mean practically? Would we have any future implications with the funding curve? What if people that have infinite vesting start behaving badly? Would that cause any type of conflict? What is the way to break that vesting? Is it through a proposal? But then breaking that vesting would mean that they have financial power when that was not intended. So I feel like there are questions there, at least that I have, that could be cool to explore.
I don't think that, I mean, we can programmable money. It's crazy. We can do whatever we want. But I'm pretty sure the vesting would not be able to be stopped in any way, unless maybe by a full DAO vote, like the full TEC could vote on it. If someone is misbehaving, the full DAO. I mean, this is the crazy thing about DAOs, man. They can just burn tokens. The DAO can be like, hey, this guy's bad. Let's vote to burn his tokens. And the DAO can do that. You know, this is the difference between a blockchain, you know, that has like well, even blockchains, Ethereum effectively burned the DAO hackers tokens, right? So even a blockchain can do it. It's just way harder with this. If someone's misbehaving or being a bad DAO member, their tokens are stuck in a contract, can't really be stopped. They can just burn those tokens.
But no, that's the vested ones, yeah, but I mean, these people could also, you know, like ask for money and then sell it, right? I mean,
no, they can't sell it.
No, I mean, asking for funding on the acting bad, let's say.
Yeah, so they, with their governance power, they will be able to direct funding. Absolutely.
Yeah.
So from conviction voting.
And then you said something about a negative bonding curve. Isn't that something complicated?
It's, you know, it's as complicated as you want me to go. But basically, we can tweak the bonding curve so it just ignores the fact that we minted these tokens. It just forgets that they exist. There's this thing called virtual supply. And we have to change the bonding curve contract because but I want to do this anyway for other commons because there's other cool functionalities that we can do with this. Like, for instance, what if we wanted to give people who want to just donate to the TEC? just send money to conviction, the common pool. By the way, off topic, we have to change funding pool to common pool. I tried with One Hive to get them to stick with common funding pool, but we really should probably be using the terminology common pool now. Good news. Okay. Anyway, but if someone donates directly to the common pool, wouldn't it be cool to give them locked tokens that could never be sold? And it could be like a way that that you could get governance with and donate at the same time. And so changing this in the bonding curve would allow us to have some freedom to do cool things like that later anyway. Mint tokens for people, or create systems that will mint tokens for people without them being able to be sold or without them affecting the bonding curve. So we'll have to make one small change in the bonding curve application that says this number can be a negative number, right? It's just like it's changing the type of, input. So it's like instead of an unsigned integer, it's a signed integer. And that's it. It shouldn't be that crazy. And we have to audit the bonding curve code anyway, so.
Cool. Yeah, sounds like an interesting solution that I feel like I don't understand so much about. It is more clear now that you explained, but it would probably be good also to pass through advice process. I'm hoping that all of these proposals that we are starting to lift now could go through advice process during this week, as soon as possible, just for us to start discussing them. And this discussion help to shape the final proposal that will be voted on. And that will, for the debate to start now, and then we continue with live debates and calls, kind of like we did for the params. And then I want to change to the second one, that is the categories. So I'll later, after we talk about this, I'll show the categorizing praise process. We needed a lot of help there, so it would be great that everyone on the call at least understand how it works, and if you want to jump into it, that would be awesome. So the categories are, we're basically putting all of the praise into buckets, and with that, we're hoping to understand what were the categories that were most praised or underpraised, and if there is something there that we understand about the behavior of the community and what has been, what have we been praising the most? What are the blind sides? And this is really cool because it feeds more or less into how Sourcecred works. And I think that will offer us a lot of insights for moving forward with Sourcecred, and also understanding the data of Sourcecred and seeing what needs to be tweaked. And this is something we talked about in the past, and it's a huge amount of work, but it's great that it's happening now. So yeah, we don't have all this data yet, analyzed, because it has to happen manually. Octopus said it had a great idea for how to automate this process, and we want that to happen, but I thought it would be best for us to do it manually now, because we don't have time for a full, building a tool, developing this, this automated process, but it will happen in the future, and it will make our lives a lot easier in terms of quantification and understanding in general of praise. So yeah, one of the ideas actually Tam talked about today that she heard from someone else, that it's just been a lot of conversations going around and we lose track of who says what, but that we could have a similar distribution to Sourcecred. For example, let's say there is, this is a number that we have. So in one of the rounds, 12% of the whole praise was just for tweets and retweets and everything involved with Twitter. and 12% became 3.5% of the impact hours of that round. So we could understand together if, do we want Twitter to have 3.5% of the impact hours? Maybe we do. And then that bucket receives 3.5% every time. Or maybe we think it's too much, and then we want Twitter to receive like 1% or 2%. So we could have kind of like Sourcecred works, these buckets that have different sizes and the impact hours are raining on them using Mateo's analogy. And the buckets that are bigger will just fill with more of that praise. And the buckets that are smaller will have a smaller number.
This has
Yeah, Zach, if you want to say.
it has some also people who retweet and do stuff and quantified price. It's even higher. So that's the thing when you changing the rules. It's hard because as I told you, there was people they were getting even 4 impact hours for even more, like 8, let's say, because it's every 2 weeks, 2 praises, and they get average praise. I mean, it's crazy. So that's why changing rules is so crazy. But yeah, I just wanted to point it out, even retweets could get even 6 hours, something like that, and it's crazy.
Well, this would not be exactly changing the rules. We would just. So I think what this analysis process is doing is giving us an understanding that we didn't have and that it wasn't possible for us to have before all of this process that we went through. So we had first, praise is amazing, and this is only happening because of how incredible praise is. There are so many people involved and looking into this now because it's worth it, because it's beautiful what has been built around this. So in all this time that we have been working, we have been producing data that is so rich, this data about how we are behaving as a community, that it would be a waste of knowledge, of preciousness, to not look into all of this data. But what is happening now is looking into all of this to see what we have. And this is something we talked that we would love to have happening in Sourcecred, but because we built, we are implementing Sourcecred so slowly and it's happening in parallel with praise, we had that thought in the beginning. And maybe if we were just implementing praise now, maybe we would think about it too, because it offers this movements, the flow of the community. So what we thought from Sourcecred, even Santi had said, if the cred is not good, it's not aligned with what we want, we can tweak them. We can put more cred in this parameter. We can put less cred for this part. For example, we decided to not give cred to Discord. And this is something that we only got that awareness from observing One Hive and seeing that for them, it was being very gamed, their use of Discord. So I think what this praise analysis is offering us is this insight on how have we been behaving as a community. And I think it's better to look at an informed decision rather than changing rules. And also, just to finalize on that, one of the Ostrom's principles is to have this autonomy over the rules that we create ourselves. So we don't want to be rigid and bureaucratic, that we can never look back into the rules that we created, even when they might not work for everyone anymore. So it's just really looking into all of these possibilities.
Yeah, but also she refers like to modify the rules to the past, not to the future. Like if you have a common and like you were, it's hard to say in English, but I mean you were collecting fruits, let's say, and the fruits you collected in the past, after you change the rules, these fruits doesn't change. Like you already eat them or sell them or whatever. Yeah, you change the rules, but looking to the future, not looking to the past, and this is so important.
Well, I don't think there's any time mentions on what she writes about, and it's a different scenario because it's a physical structure, and here we're like in a very experimental ground with experimental tools and processes, and of course we have the option to not change anything, but we have to do that from an informed perspective. And all I want us to do is to have that informed perspective and see, like, okay, I see where everything is going, so how do I want to make that happen? And for example, Sourcecred has the retroactive praise, not praise, but the retroactive cred that goes to people that have worked in the past. And I'm pretty sure if you change that parameter, that could change that distribution as well. So we are dealing with tools that offer a broader spectrum of what we can do. And it's just important that we look at it like trying to be the less biased possible. And if we don't agree with something, that we have the full autonomy to say, I don't agree with this and I don't want to move forward with this.
Yeah, I think you explained that really well, Olivia. Thank you. I want to dig into this idea of changing the rules, because it's been said a few times now during this session, and it doesn't appear to me as something that is necessarily what's being attempted here. The praise system has worked really well with Common Stack, a non-governance, non-financial token, and now we're applying it in a completely different context, and we're experimenting with how it can work, but we also want to ensure that the results that we have are do make sense. Like if you're experimenting with a process and you see that it doesn't make sense, and you think, okay, we could change certain things in order for a result that makes more sense. For example, if we talk about TEC as a governance token, would we logically say, for this praise quant session, we should give 3.5% of the TEC's governance to anyone who's retweeted on Twitter? Anything that, like, so there's these illogical outcomes that we have, and I think, as Livia is saying, I really support that. We should really make informed decisions about how we've decided to allocate governance in this commons. And it's not. I would maybe hesitate to. I don't know. Like, changing the rules is not what's happening, but it's one of those phrases that people feel is inherently unjust. So it makes you feel so like, oh, we're changing the rules. Don't change the rules, No, but it's I want to feel like I want to hesitate to say maybe that it's not exactly what's happening. So maybe we could dig into how it feels like the rules are changing versus we're experimenting and we're learning from this data analysis that there have some outcomes that are not ideal for any of us, not one of us, for all of us collectively.
Right, and let me just throw in one word there. That goes back to just the concept of being robust. I mean, if we need to make sure that the system will work going forward, and if we're discovering through the analysis that the distribution is incorrect for the robustness of the DAO, I mean, precisely, it's an experiment. It's an experiment that needs to find its footing so that it can run. It can run. It can continue.
I agree that organizations evolve and rules are there to be changed, especially when the organization realizes that they are not fair enough anymore because the organization has changed because it evolves. My point is that we should change them looking forward, and that's all I wanted to mention. But I completely agree, and Sourcecred is going to be a great tool to tweak, change, and just look at One Hive. They started giving away tons of money on that faucet, and it's not doing anything anymore because it just served the purpose when it was serving it. And now that they've grown, they just don't give it the value that they used to give it. And that's it. There is no issue with that. I mean, rules are there to change, especially if they are there to change to improve.
Exactly, I really agree. Like we really need to change the rules. Like for example, like indeed, like on the price quantify, like I feel honestly, like I feel like the quantifiers get more praise than no quantifier. Like I was doing quantify myself and I was experimenting. When I was quantifying, I was getting more praise than when I was not. And like changing the rules would mean like changing how we price the quantifiers, but we don't remove what quantifiers get from before. That'd be wrong.
Okay, so we have 6 minutes left. I just want to show, we won't have time to debate this one. I'll just go over it and then show the categorizing praise, and we can move forward by using advice process and then hosting discussions. So, yeah, for the categorization of praise, we have this spreadsheet that Octopus put up, and a lot of people help working on this. And there's all the praise in the samples. So there are many samples that we need to categorize. And it's okay if we don't finish them all. So the timeline that we're thinking is working on this until Sunday and getting the most we can. And then on Sunday, we'll have a session with Octopus and YGG and everyone that wants to come and transfer the analysis to the hands of Softgov and have the debates there moving forward for the proposals to be voted. So everyone is invited to come on Sunday and to work on this. And it seems very boring, but it's fun if you put some music on, and we can do it all together as well, or however people prefer. So here there are the categories of comms, cultural, build, softgov, params, legal, all the working groups, and then participation, retweets. This for me feels weird that they are together, but it started like this. Octopus was saying that there is a way to separate them after. And then fundraising, donating. Anyways, there's all these categories. So what we need to do is come here, let's say sample 8. Attending today's Garden Swarm weekly meeting. This is TC12 because TC12 because it's participation. So it's interaction between members, is like coming to a meeting. So I come here and I put TC12. And then for all the ones I do, just for the sake of transparency, I come here to tag by and I say, oh, I was working on sample 1 and I did the rows between 2 and 22. So I go that I come here and tag what I did, so people know if they have questions about like, oh, this one, I don't know. Yeah, thanks Vai V and Eduardo for helping here so far. And if anyone wants to jump in, that would be really great. And it also offers some insights about like what has been praised, what are the categories that are happening. Does anyone has questions about this, or feels like helping, or wants to jump in? Okay. I would like to do a closing round. I feel like there is a tense air in the maybe just like a few words from each one for us to close this and move to our next meetings. So I'll pass to Matteo.
I don't have an opinion on this, but I did want to mention that the PC drops now is up and running. All the information is in the channel if you want to check it out. We should be making the test distribution soon enough. And yeah, I just didn't want to go before without saying that. I'll pass it to Nate.
On that, could you guys, Santi and Matteo, stay for a couple of minutes just to go through some Sourcecred questions?
Sure.
Cool, thank you.
Yeah. I guess my last statement on this Softgov call would be that I think we should be careful how we frame it and not have so much contention between those who were compensated versus those who were not. For those who've earned impact hours, you are actually getting a very good deal, especially if we launch this comments in terms of the hatch parameters that we chose. You are getting compensated very, very well, and I think everybody is being taken care of really well in terms of finances for our contributions to this. And so I just want to keep that in mind, that this is more about the process and for the future of Commons launches and making sure that they have good systems to work with, and that we are the pilot, and we're testing these things out and moving forward is the most important thing for us. So I will pass it to Suga.
Thanks, Nate. I totally agree with you. I like that idea, making it not contentious. Thank you, Livia, and everybody who's working so hard on the data analysis, because that's important and it's productive and it's constructive, and we really have to move away from the fear mongering, because nobody's taking anything away from anybody else. And I love you all, and we need to just come back to that, this space of the community, that we're all connected and we're trying to do the right thing for the community altogether. So thank you, Livia. To Tam, please.
Yeah, I want to say I'm really, really excited about all of the ideas that are coming for how to improve the praise process. There's ideas around how we can better categorize these, the tweets and the calls, and everyone who's done praise quant and knows that it's just like 2 hours of like sitting and typing numbers on your keyboard. Like, wouldn't it be amazing if there's like only just the actual praise that's like person to person, and not these automatic praise that you sort of also have to then go and quantify and sort of slog through. There's an idea of using, AI to be able to do a first pass and then just have a human go through and sort of have a look. So the evolution of praise is actually really exciting, and what we'll be able to do with it in the future. So I'm really excited about that. And I'll pass to Anne-Marie.
Thanks, Tam. Yeah, just really appreciate being able to listen and learn and pay attention. It's the first community I'm a part of that is working through this and the tech involved. So, yeah, appreciate it. And I'll pass that to Craig.
Yeah, great discussion, and I guess I'm excited that it's all happening. It is a super rich data set. Like Santi, I've refrained really from entering the debate so much. I guess both because of where I sit, within the universe of IHT holders, and just my personal preference. And I largely, agree with Santi's perspective. And I'll pass it to, let's see, Griff.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of come from the crypto scene, so I also sort of agree with Santi's perspective, where it's like mining, just we're like praise mining, and like the rules aren't always fair. You change them going forward, but you don't change them going back. And I think that we have enough like subjectivity in the praise process that's built into the system that we can make some adjustments and improve it. But ideally, I definitely am I have more of a preference for small tweaks versus like big changes. Like saying, oh, all of this gets this. Maybe it's like, oh, okay, well, there was intention here. Maybe we only get 50% to fix this thing, or and it's like this. Like, okay, yes, we can all agree that these people were under rewarded, or this system was flawed in that way, or these results are not how we want. But then at the same time, there's like got to be some respect for the system and how it was built and how the outcomes that it gave, and not trying to just re-manipulate it to however we want. Because also, we just will never agree. And that's what I really worry about most, is just like making some changes that loud voices really want to happen, and then like just like alienating people in a way for like a small change in something that is relatively unimportant in the systemic scene. It's like maybe impact hours will represent 15% of the initial supply, 15 to 20% of the initial tokens, and then from there they get diluted from more people buying into the bonding curve and such. So, the distribution is real. Of course, it's not nothing, but at the same time, it's not like also all those tokens will be locked for a long time, likely. And the people who are, want more impact. I don't know. There's just so much going on. I just hope we don't make too many big changes. And I'll pass it to Mihai.
Thanks, Griff. It's interesting to see the passion that is shown all around, regardless of the people being content with the changes or not. Just want to remind you guys that you are at the forefront of the entire movement, and that the system that you're trying to build here represents an inspiration for other entities and people all around. So just a sort of reminder for you guys. It's really cool to see this. And of course, not all the conversations are easy, but at the end of the day, if people are saying that they actually contribute and believe in the cause, they'll have the tough conversation when it's needed. So, yeah, Chewy, I'll pass it to Chewy. I'm not sure if you went or not.
Thank you, Mihai. This is like one of the first few times that I've gotten involved with this, with the whole situation around this. I do agree with Santi regarding like some of the points about changing the rules. I do feel that these kind of situations are gonna arise like every time like there's a hatch or there's like a discussion around the praise system, and I don't think that there's always gonna be like an absolute solution, of course. But I do feel that what we have as a community that maybe some other communities are missing is like the cultural build behind it, and just the trust side of it. So I do agree that we eventually are gonna need to like talk about trust and like exactly like what we want to achieve, because I do feel that yeah, like there shouldn't be like any like just major changes to
to how like the rules were set. Like I'm more like inclined towards that part of the argument. I do, however, recognize that I'm not like the most informed um person in the community to think about this, but it's just like so far what I've have gathered from this meeting. I'll pass it to Heather.
Hey, Heather, are you there? So I'll pass to Escanor.
Well, I don't have a strong opinion on this because I just found out about this situation. So I would like to listen to someone else. So I'll pass it to Craig.
I think Zaptimus is the last one.
Oh well. Yeah, to Septimus then.
Thank you, Livian Escanore. Yeah, first I want to say, like, honestly, when I first joined in here, like, like, even if I get, like, no reward at all, I would feel, like, I feel good. Like, I learn a lot. And when I first come here, I come to learn, and I learn a lot, and I'm still learning, so it's awesome. The thing that concerns me, like, when all of this, it's like the trust, right? Like, we were saying one thing, and then we're changing it, and yeah, or trying to, I don't know. That's what concerns me. But it doesn't matter what we do. I feel rewarded for like all I'm doing, all I'm learning, and I feel great, honestly. But I'm just this thing about trust. Like like if another commons happens or something, like would I do it like unpaid on a spreadsheet? Do I trust? It's a trust thing, and I don't know. I just pass it.
Let me just stand. I just didn't go. I just want to add two little things. First, it's important to analyze the small changes, because if we change a lot of things, there's no way we're going to get a really information out of it, because you don't know what is affecting what. All right. So it's whatever we do. It doesn't matter if we want to change 20 things. We have to change it one at a time or two at a time to be able to analyze the response. And second, to me, what's most important is to keep the group, happy. And I know some people may feel better than others, because when decisions take place, not everyone is happy with the outcome. But we should think on a way to, keep the group strong and together. And that to me, that's what we have to keep in mind, and that's the most valuable of the group, of the community, of the DAO. And just answering to Zepti, reasoning. I want to be able to feel happy no matter what the outcome is, and I want to be able to decide if I want to get involved in other commons that we launch. I want to have the feeling that I want to, because I feel comfortable with it. No matter how this one goes, if we get money, if we launch, if we hatch, whatever happens. What I take from all this is the relationships, the learning, the group, a lot of things. And again, to me, what touched me the most, it's not even the impact hours. It's what happened with Jake. And that keeps resonating to my head. That's sad, very sad. And I wish that doesn't happen again, at least not the way it happened. Anyone can decide to step away or step aside for any reason. But, try to solve those conflicts, to me, is the most important thing of this group. Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Sorry to go so over time, and I really appreciate all the sharings. I feel much more informed after this call and hearing all your perspectives. And I'm really excited to move forward with these discussions, because I think even having an open space to discuss is the best that can happen with us, and being open to talk about trust and about relationships and about what is fair or not. The subjects are not easy. Talking about compensation is not easy, about governance power, all of this. So I think everyone is really brave to be sharing opinions and positions here, and I really trust that we'll find the best solution for everyone and be able to communicate that to the wider community that sometimes is not present in these calls but have been contributing in other ways, and find a resonance within everyone. So we'll talk for a couple of minutes about Sourcecred. Whoever wants to stay is welcome. Otherwise, thanks so much for joining.
Thank you, Olivia. Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, Olivia. Cheers.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
So we just had a couple of questions. I don't know, Santi, if you were able to see in the chat. I think there were two things that maybe you could help us with. One is, how can we automate the spreadsheet? Mateo had something on there.
I didn't have a chance
I
to
think
look, but
we're
if
all
you can update me, we can try to see how to move forward.
Yeah, what I did last week was I updated every identity that was not active. I noticed that there were some of them, and all the instances already with the cred that everybody could have gotten until last week. So I took all that information and moved it to a spreadsheet that I shared on the channel. In that spreadsheet, we have the name of the person. We have the credit obtained. We have a calculation of the percentage of how much, according to the credit distributed, should be uh, getting. And I added a little row about, let's say, if we are going to distribute 10 X dice, how much X die is going to get everyone. So I know that you were working with Santiago and he made some also an interface to do analytics on Sourcecred. So I figured that maybe there is a way to automate grabbing the credit amount that everyone is getting into a spreadsheet, and then we can make this like automatically because uh, so far what cannot be automated is the uh, manual setting up the address and how much should everyone get, and the burn action on the source credit account as Sandpiper recommended. That is, get the credit out of the people's account on SourceCred and move it to a Born wallet, which is another identity that is going only to serve as a Born wallet, let's say. So if we find a way to automate this spreadsheet only regarding the rate obtained for every distribution, that would make it a lot easier. So that's mainly what's it. I know Santiago did something, but I'm not sure if there is a rep or what was it.
I can ask him if, yeah, I'm sure he updated whatever he did on GitHub. We have to check, and I'm sure there's a way to grab fetch the information from SourceCred and put it on a spreadsheet. I'm sure he can do that. So there's like two steps. One step is getting the information from the graph, the Sourcecred graph, and putting it on a spreadsheet, and then is the second step, which is using that information and either distributing or burning. That has to be done. That has to be done manually. There is no way we can automate that. But getting the information from the graph and putting it on the spreadsheet, that should be something he should be able to do. So I'm just gonna send him a note and ask him if he can help us on that, and see what he says. All right.
Okay. Yeah, the manual part is actually sending every transaction through the DAO that is already working with a transactions app that the one high team implemented. And after we distribute that, we have to remove the cred that is actually on the source code.
Right. We have to distribute and then
if I'm going to say,
burn and then burn.
yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Hmm.
that's it.
And do you have
That's another
do you have any application to do the burning as a bulk, or we have to do it manually?
That's manual. That's going to be a pain in the ass, but yeah, we
Mm-hmm.
gotta do it like that. I can ask Sandpiper if they found a way to do it better, but so far it's mainly because of traceability and keep the source code instance a little bit cleaner. That's what he
Maybe we
recommended
can
as
ask the
well.
people.
Maybe
Maybe we
there
can
is
ask directly
there.
to the people of Sourcecred and see if there is any way we can automate that. Because doing it one, I mean, I don't know how many accounts there are right now, but they are going to be increasing by time, and it's first it's a time consuming process, and second, you can make mistakes if you do it manually. I mean, so it's both. We want to avoid both. So maybe we can pose the question to these guys and see if they have. I'm sure they don't have an absolutely automatic solution because they would have implemented it probably, but they may have a way for us to have it semi-automatic, and maybe we have to do human intervention, but it can go on a batch process or on a faster way or whatever. So I'll point you to both directions. I'll ask Santiago if he can help us with fetching the information from the graph, from Sourcecred graph, and sending it to a spreadsheet, and also get in touch with the people at Sourcecred and see if there is any alternative to doing everything manually, especially for the burning, because the distribution through the tool, we are pretty much, it's still manual, but it's much faster than doing it one by one.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
There are 53 identities right now on SourceCred that are active. So it's still a lot.
Okay. Okay. I'll pose those questions to both of them, and I'll get back to you on the group Discord group.
And then the last question was, should we add a channel for the addresses collection in the onboarding section? I asked Viva V, and then he said, you suggested, Santi, that this is done via DM. Is there any benefit for doing it private or like a bad thing that could happen from putting it public?
Well, I tend to think there's different levels of privacy and different levels of knowledge from people. And some people don't realize that when they give away an address, that address, anyone can grab that address. And if they have $20 million in that address, everyone's going to be able to see it. And if they keep using that address for other services, everyone can see it. The problem is not that I can see it or anyone can see it. The problem is that they may not even know that they're using an address that was published on a public service just to get the cred, and they keep using that address for other purposes, and then anyone can keep an eye on what they are doing with their own privacy. That's why I tend to think that it's better to do it on a DM. I mean, Mateo is one person. I am one person, but I'm not 20, 30, 40 eyes that can watch that address. Okay. That's my personal reasoning behind that. But it's my own opinion. We are a group here, and we can all decide together. But I tend to think like that. It's like, for instance, just to give you a short example. Okay, we are seeing. I'm just getting involved into this NFT art space, and there's a bunch of new people jumping in, new artists. They don't even realize that the very first moment they put their address on OpenSea, everyone is going to be able to see what they're making out of the sales. They don't even know that. And hackers look at those that are selling, and they're going after those that are selling because it's very easy to figure out who's making tons of money selling art. They don't even know the risk they are jumping into. Because they just don't know. They are artists. They jump into a new space. They are selling. They are happy. Those that are selling, those that are not selling, they don't have any problem because hackers are not after them. But those are the implications when new people is jumping into this space that don't know at all what is this all about. They don't have the foundation of crypto. They don't have the fund. So that's why I try to protect. I always try to keep an eye on those newcomers, and I try to protect them as much as I can.
Yeah, I agree with Santi. Like, we should respect like people's privacy. Like, for example, like I know like the people who's in the trusted seat, their address are already public. But for the new contributors, it would be good like if we respect their privacy.
That, yeah, I'm okay with that. I think the only concern would be, how are the logistics of this going to work? Are we going to have to message people individually? Does the bot works the same way? Would it automatically feed the spreadsheet like we had set up with the
One
other
way
bot?
to do it, Libby, one way to do it is to add a little message on the bot warning that this address is being published on a public channel. At least we tell them. And also maybe telling them you may be willing to create a new free address for this purpose. At least we warn them, we let them know. And those that are having doubts, they may contact us via DM and ask, why is this, why is that? And then we tell them. But at least those that are completely new, that don't know, oh, I have this address that I created to get my Ethereum a while ago on the exchange here and there. Let's use this one. If they see you should create a new address for this purpose and be aware that this address is being published on a public channel, that adds at least some level of security to those that are willing to read. I know that many people is not even going to read, but that's not our fault.
And then thinking on the other side, like, are we going to use like Bright ID or something like to get people's like? What if a contributor uses like 2-3 addresses for cred with 3 or 4 Discord accounts? What would happen? Who say Discord, say forum, GitHub, whatever.
Well, if you have several accounts, you have to be active on several accounts. It's not that easy. And at the end of the day, if you analyze a little bit the data, you're going to figure out. So I tend to think that if a member of a DAO is stupid enough to be playing with several accounts to get a bunch of small amounts of cred, first of all, I don't think there's going to be many of those. And even if they are, we're going to catch them. And they're risking being kicked out. So I wouldn't bother too much on that.
Yeah, and that's one of the good things about removing Discord from Sourcecred, because it would be very easy to do that on Discord, but more difficult in the forum and on GitHub.
Right, and if you interact on Discord, on the forum, you have to be participating. And if we see someone that is just saying yeah, hello, hi, and or boring and doing no really interactions, you end up catching them. I mean, it's very easy to see it. I mean, so it doesn't have. I mean, the effort of putting a lot of control, it's not worth it, not at all.
Yeah, fair enough.
So let's do that. Let's put a big warning. We can put it in multiple places. Whenever we mention Sourcecred, we can add a warning like that, and in the channel. Also I thought of adding a channel to the onboarding. So under orientation, it could be like a Sourcecred address, or I don't know, some type of name that is self-explanatory.
Right, and a little highlighted so they watch it, because if it's the same type and the same color, many people are just going to go click the go and forget about it. Just have a red sign, and so their eyes just point into there, and at least if they want to read it, and they can, and they can decide what they want to do.
Great. those were the points I had. Is there anything else you guys want to talk about?
Not from my side. I think I'm covered from here.
Yeah.
So I'll just pose those questions and I'll give you my feedback.
Yeah, maybe when you have some answers regarding that, we can decide when to do the distribution, even if it's manually, or we can choose the automated option that hopefully we will have. But anyway, the distribution is going to be manual, so maybe we can decide already a date for that.
Cool. Thanks for staying over.